it in. Hang on. All right, here we go. Integration. For some time now, we've been concerned about some. See, the loudness starts to start. So it wasn't even on purpose. It just starts to go. For some time now, we've been very concerned about something, and we've been struggling with a way to explain it to you that would sink in. And we came up with things that we thought were clever, and they didn't sink in. And in this regard, we're talking about integrating. We will not be tolerating more of these comments, and especially you internet people, because we see what you write on Facebook. Your soul's doing stuff to you. It ends tonight. No more. Integration is now. We cannot go on with you guys thinking that your soul is something other than you. It's not. It's not this image you've had of God, that outside there, the overall wise one that somehow, sometimes is nice to you and sometimes is mean to you and sometimes doesn't give a shit about what you're doing, and you have plans to do something but your soul puts something in your way. That's not what's going on. Now, up to this point, we will admit we sometimes presented material that may have encouraged you to think this way, because we had to start the conversation, but we're growing up now. And sometimes when you're growing up, you have to say, okay, this got you some point, and now we're going to scrap that and go on from here. You're at a certain point, we're going to go on from here. Okay, we have an example of this for you so that we can all be on the same page. When Veronica plays her cello teacher takes little pieces of black tape and puts them on the neck of the cello so Veronica knows where to put her finger so she gets a certain note. Yeah? You know all about this. Well, she's been doing this for 2 years. If she looks, she puts your finger there, that's the correct note. Yeah? A little bit like how we've talked about the soul. Because now the vibrato thing is coming into the picture, which is when you wiggle your hand to make the sound modulate, the tapes have to come off because vibrato doesn't work with the tapes. So to get the next skill set, you have to give up the crutches from the lower level skill set. Basically, this means starting over, because now to know whether or not she's in tune, she has to do it with her ear while adding in a new skill. Perfect example for what we want to say to you guys. Up until this point, it has been understandable for you to feel like your soul was something over there kind of fucking with you left and right. But the truth of the matter is, you and your soul are one being. You are the same thing. You are not separate from each other, and your soul is not doing stuff to you. You are collaborating in a somewhat amnesic way with your soul, but you are not separate. And we can't go where we want to go if we keep thinking it's of it in a separate way. Because many of you have come out of a religious tradition which involves God. The idea of God is something over there. Some of you have a more intimate relationship with God that you feel when you pray, you feel close to God, things like that. But the bottom line is you and God may be one, but you don't feel like you're the same. So you put your soul into that category within you because you have no place else to slot in the idea of a soul. You've not been taught. You haven't understood. And we've said, in soul, in soul, in soul, live your soul's perspective, ask for insight, ask for insight. And all of these things can very easily, energetically be slotted into the place of praying or asking for the Holy Spirit or asking for the wisdom of the universe, as if those things are not you. Now, we've told you oneness is a reality, and you will experience oneness. But a huge, huge, huge step on the oneness journey is allowing yourself to relate to your soul, knowing it's you, not thinking it's something other than you. So we have to start again here in working out the fact that you and your soul are the same. Now, in the past, we've said your soul and you are the personality self. We said you, Michael, the personality self. That's because we've needed a way to identify that sometimes the concerns of Renee and the concerns of the soul seem to be at odds, right? That's why we had to do this as my first choice. Because you had to go, okay, it's not my soul doing it to me. It's me on the plan, even if it's difficult for me to understand why I would do this. I'm going to be on the plan. And you guys have pretty much decided that makes sense to you. Not every time. It's not always easy. But the idea of, I'm going to say this was my plan all along because it's happening to me, has started to sink in. And what happens now is that you must live as the integrated self. The integrated self is what we're going to call it, because we think it actually energetically is the most accurate word. We worked on this a lot. Integrated self. So it's not the personality self and the soul anymore. We can't keep talking about it like that. The integrated self is what we want to talk about from now on. And the integrated self accesses insight just as easily as the integrated self accesses thinking. We're not there yet, right? Even Veronica's not there yet. She's got us in her ear all the time. It still isn't that natural, right? So don't feel like you're left behind on this one, because we're not there yet. But that's where we're going. That's the work. You know, we did the work of you're not a victim. We did the work of dealing with triggers. We did the work of dealing with fear. Now we're on the work of dealing with how to make insight part of your day-to-day life, minute-to-minute life, a conversation with your own self. Now, how it's going to look and feel, of course, will evolve as you guys show it to us. But we can give you some hints of what we think we're doing here, yeah? What we think we're doing here is that as you walk in this world, when you face your life, a decision, a problem, a conundrum, a question, you don't face it as though it's you alone on the journey. And you all have this problem of feeling the disconnect from oneness that's caused you never-ending amounts of pain. So when we say to you, you are not disconnected from oneness, we don't expect you to believe us. And even if you can agree with us, you still don't believe us energetically, because all your bodies went, yeah, we've been told that before. We know it. Yeah, you just keep talking, because that part, that thing, that oneness, right? That oneness, that touching into oneness. And being aware of the opportunity to contribute your expertise. And with this part, we've said it, the visionaries just said it, we don't care. We will say this over and over until it sinks in, because it has not sunk in yet. You are not the wicked little stepchild that doesn't know shit, that's somehow being, by the grace of God or some other non-physical being, being scooped up into it as if you're like second-class citizen, right? You have come into a series of incarnations on earth, dealt with duality, dealt with time, dealt with physicality, dealt with loss and grief and love and fear and anger and triggers and pains and passions. And that was on purpose to build within you like a muscle, to build a muscle within you so that as you show up to this integrated experience, you bring with you that expertise. Your soul does not know how to live on this planet, or it would be doing it without you as a personality self. It doesn't need a personality self, or it does. Apparently it does, or you wouldn't be here. This is the plan all along, for your soul to experience with you, through you, as you, the earth experience. Because it can't happen without the interface of the body. And you're the expert on the body. That's what you bring. One example, we'll give you another one. Earlier today, we've been working with Veronica for hours to get ready for tonight's meeting. She got out of the car to walk to the restaurant, and we were so connected to her, she didn't trust herself to cross the street. Because she doesn't trust us to know whether it's safe to cross the street, because she knows we don't know. And we'll tell you, we don't know. We honestly don't know. So she held on to Sue and said, I don't trust myself to make the decision of whether or not it's safe to cross the street. That's your job. Because you know. You know if it's safe to cross the street because you've had lifetimes of practice. You bring that expertise. And you might say, well, Eloheim, of course you could have figured it out. Probably. But it was causing such a terror in the body for us to be in charge of the decision. Are you getting it? Mm-hmm. The amount of terror it was causing in the body for us to be in charge of that decision told Veronica to override our decision-making process and let Sue make the decision. And she held on to Sue to walk across the street because she didn't trust it any other way. That's because we were in her space already. And yes, we can look at your body and tell you where you're holding energy and show you your past lives and talk to you about all the things we've told you over the years. Read your energy field like it's a book, but we can't cross the fucking street alone. Do you hear us? We can't do it without you. That means your soul cannot do it without you. That means if you don't show up owning the fact that you have developed this ability and have this respect for your knowledge, it doesn't work to integrate. Your soul can be knocking on the door going, we've got information, and you're like, I'm not worthy, I suck. I'm not worthy, all I am is a human. I'm not worthy, I can't handle it. And your soul's like, what can we do? Okay, so you can't, first step is you gotta let go of the idea that you are not contributing, or that your soul is something more than you, or your soul is something better than you, or sort of something different from you that somehow you've lucked into having a relationship with. Because that's just not true. You are the expert. It's so hard to talk about this topic without bringing duality in. The duality being you are or you're not, right? In this way, duality is when we try to say you, and we're talking to you, Gwen, or you, Kim Joy, right? When we talk to you, we're talking to you as connected, integrated already with your soul. But what happens is, just like Veronica's fear to let us walk across the street overrode the ability for us to walk across the street. Body stuff, physical stuff, life stuff, money stuff, man stuff, whatever you got, overrides that connection. And that's why we've worked on it and worked on it and worked on it and worked on it and worked on it, so that the vibrational level, meaning how conscious you are, goes up, so your soul has a place to touch in. Your soul cannot be in that dense energy of earth, of life, of duality, of time, of fear, and of triggers, or it would without you, right? Meaning without this way of integrating it. So, again, even in our explanation, we're making it sound like you and your soul are separate, and you're not. And that's what our goal, our role, our desire at this time is, to find new ways of talking about this so that we can drop the idea that you and your soul are somehow not the same, and allow you to start living from the perspective of you and your soul are the same. And that's why for the last few weeks we've been talking very deeply about the idea of asking for insight all the time and in new ways. And, are you living the way that you want to live? Because are you bringing to this equation the quote good parts of being human, the part you like? Are you bringing that in? Are you showing up there? Because if you show up there, you're going to be more high vibrational, and you're going to offer more surface area for you to realize your connection to your soul, realize that your oneness with your soul, your integration with your soul. Because that's what we're really looking for, is you to realize how you are connected. To realize it, to live from the place of feeling it. To live from the place of feeling it. This requires you to feel yourself in new ways. Offer yourself opportunities to know yourself in new ways. The whole thing, you can't have change without change, also is when stuff starts to change, lots of stuff changes. Right? So when you start to connect with your soul's insight and you start to be aware of it as part of you, that's going to ripple through your life in new ways. You are going to feel your life in new ways. You just can't avoid it. And we believe that you guys are all primed to let your life change around that. Right? Because you can go into I don't know anything. You can go into understanding's overrated. You can go into the idea that as things move and change, it's your first choice for them to move. That when you have a preference, that sometimes those preferences are based in preconceived notions that are outdated. Veronica put it on the Facebook the other day that preconceived notions are based in a you that made the preconceived notion. And that's not you today. Because you today knows better than to make preconceived notions. You today says, I don't know anything. All right? I don't know anything. I open to insight. Not this is the way it has to be in order for me to be happy. Because like we talked about last week, it's a crooked road. Did that sink in for you guys that were here? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you walk a crooked road. Now you guys weren't here, but you can imagine, right? You walk a crooked road. It's not a straight line. And we did this exercise where everybody stood up and we said, okay, step by step, which direction do you think you should step? And everyone was walking all different directions, which was nice to see that not everybody thought they had to go the same way. And the idea was, we said, okay, the thing you want's on the back wall. Ask for insight about the direction you should step in that. Because you're not necessarily stepping toward it to get there. Because sometimes it's a crooked road that gets you there faster, or gets you there saner, or gets you there happier, or gets you there in a way that you feel like you grew through rather than you just plowed through. And anybody who's been on the planet for more than a day knows it's a crooked road. But there was something that Veronica found very empowering about owning the crooked road and not feeling as though life had to be outcome-based. Escaping the outcome-based life. There's been so much driven into you that you have to be in an outcome-based environment to be a success. Success is that outcome. Go get it. Ignore how you feel. Ignore what you want. Ignore what makes you happy. Ignore what your kids are saying. Ignore what your spouse thinks. Ignore everything, because that will be success and that will make you happy. And we don't have to tell you that that doesn't usually work. The crooked road gets you where you want to go. And you have to be willing to allow yourself to move and flex along the crooked road, especially as you start to integrate with your soul's energy more and more, because your soul does have a new way of adding outlook to you. A new outlook on things. Just like the other day, remember we reached down to get a piece of chocolate, and when we came up, we saw Veronica's hand, and then we had to talk about the hand for a while. Crooked road. Right? Crooked road. It was like all of a sudden that became the most interesting thing today. And the opportunity here is to know that if you thought that what we should have been talking about was the outcome in mind, and we all of a sudden were talking about Veronica's hand, you would have been disappointed. But if instead you just went, well, yeah, that is true. That's a unique representation of me. Every day, right there. Who am I? Well, that's one way to say who I am. And allowing yourself to own, wow, yeah, that's who I am. And give yourself permission to be on the crooked road. Integration is what we're going to be talking about. And the idea here is that your integrated self, how does your integrated self navigate the world? And the first and big way we want you guys to be really aware of is the times when you cast your soul as that thing over there who's mysterious and I don't know anything about, that I hope is doing nice things for me.